Hey everyone, this is Mike, and today I wanted to talk about a little game called Children of Morta. It's a game that I've been playing on stream for the last few days, and I just finished it yesterday, and I definitely recommend people to try it out. So, the basic concept of this game is that it's a RPG slash roguelike mixture. Sounds a bit strange, as usually you don't really think of a story in a roguelike game, but this game actually quite mixes both of them quite well together. So you play as the family of the Bergsons, who are basically fighting against the corruption that is descending down upon the mountain. You do so in trying to save the 3 different guardians in their 3 different biomes, and then once you save all of them, you get to fight against the big bad guy, which is basically the cause of the corruption. Now, the way why it's kind of like a RPG as well as a roguelike is because you progress through the story by going into the different biomes, and then by the time that you reach the final boss and you beat him, there is no real end game. So for people that really like roguelikes and expect there to be some kind of an end game once you beat the game, it's not really there. So for people that really want a roguelike, this is not for you. For people that are more interested in a story, this might be for you though. So basically what you do is every time you go into a dungeon and you die, you get sent back into the house of the Bergsons, and then you unlock a new cutscene or some extra dialogue with some of your characters. After that, you can just head back into the dungeon, maybe complete the dungeon, and then once you've completed it, you move on to the next stage. Each dungeon has about 2 or 3 different subdivisions. So for example, the first 2 dungeons that you get to do have 3 different sub-dungeons before you fight the final boss, and then the final dungeon only has 2 because like the third kind of stage is this final boss that you're going to be fighting. So it works as follows. You get to pick as one of the different characters that you get to play as from the Bergson family. Pretty much all of the characters can be played except maybe 2 of them or something like that. And they all have their own separate leveling system. Now, as you get into the dungeon, you are able to find a currency called Morph, but we'll just refer to it as gold for now. And you can spend that gold currency in the house on passive upgrades like more HP, more damage, crit rate, cooldown reduction, or buff duration, stuff like that. And this will benefit all of the different characters that you can play as. And then all of your other characters, they have a separate leveling system. So you might think, isn't it just better that we just pick one character that you like the most or that is the strongest, and then just play with that character throughout the whole game? Well, yes and no. So there's 2 reasons why you don't want to do this. The first reason is every 4 levels your characters unlock passives that are distributed to the whole family members. This can be really simple stuff like extra movement speed or a little bit of bonus HP, but it can also be extra like damaging passives as well. So it's really beneficial to level up different characters up until level 8 or level 12 or something like that, so that you make your characters a lot stronger as well as a whole. Other than that, the game also incentivizes you play more than just the 1 or 2 characters, because as you play dungeons with a character, they get corruption fatigue, which will give your characters a negative bonus when you go into the dungeon, like for example, reduced damage or reduced HP or something like that. So for the most part, when there is that corruption fatigue on one of your characters, you don't really want to play with them, and you want to play something else. Which then again levels them up, gives them some more levels, maybe unlock some more passives, so that when you do play with your favorite character again, they'll be a bit stronger from the family bonus that they've just gotten. So it's really simple. You just go into the dungeon, you try to clear it. If you don't clear it, you unlock some new dialogue maybe, until you've died too many times on that said dungeon. And then when you clear it, you progress the story again, you get access to a newer dungeon, and then once you've beat that dungeon, you get access to a new one again, and it just keeps going like that until you finally reach that final boss. Of course, since as I said, there is no real endgame, there's no real reason to play through the earlier stages of the dungeons again. For the most part, sometimes you'll get a quest that makes you want to go back to a previous dungeon to fight a certain item or something like that. But for the most part, you can just get by just completing the next dungeon that is laid out before you, and there's not really all too much backtracking going on. The game is also completely voice acted, not really in the sense that all of your characters have different voice actors, but there is one big narrator that basically narrates all of the cutscenes of the story.
Margaret awoke, startled a cold sweat clinging to her. She gathered her thoughts. Aged wood creaked, echoing through the quiet rooms. Near the house stood a shrine to Rhea Dana, goddess and daughter of the land, of Rhea and a being of comfort.
Which is really nice because I'm somebody that likes my voice acting in these kind of games. And it makes for a pretty cool experience. So it's kind of like a mixture of roguelike, which is a genre that I quite enjoy, even though I'm not really that good at it, and an RPG, because I do enjoy myself a pretty good story as well. And this game is kind of like the perfect mixture of the two. Even though the combat is pretty simple and maybe a little bit too bare bones for some people, I did have a good time playing it. Managed to beat it in about like 10-11 hours or something like that. So it is a pretty short game. But it is definitely a nice, short, and pretty cool experience. So if you're somebody that's interested in an RPG or some kind of a roguelike that doesn't take too much of your time, then definitely give this game a go, because I do think it is quite a good one. So with all of that being said, I'll leave a link in the description towards where you can buy the game on Steam. You can probably buy it on some other platforms as well, but I usually use Steam as like my game distributor, so I'll just leave a link to that in the description. And then I want to thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.